Good afternoon. This is what I was.
Okay. Yes. Let's look at the Bintuk conference that you attended. What were the main reasons that you attended?
Well, when I received the invitation, the theme of the seminar, promoting an independent and pluralistic African press, sounded very exciting because at that time, generally in Africa and equally also in Ghana, the press was operating in a hostile environment. So I thought it being a UNESCO and UN conference, something good would come out of it to help us in our profession.
Right. And so that was a key motivating factor that allowed you to enter. And how did it happen that you attended the conference?
Well, I think I was invited because I was a co-founder and editor of a weekly, The Monitor. And at that time, well, The Monitor came out in September 1989. At the time of the seminar, it had already collapsed. And I suppose that they wanted somebody who had first-hand experience of the trials and tribulations of trying to establish an independent newspaper. So maybe that's why I was invited to the conference.
Right. Now, the Bintuk Declaration on Press Freedom was adopted at the seminar, which led to World Press Freedom Day on May 3rd. And it is often referred to as a gift from Africa to the world delivered by UNESCO. What are your sentiments on this?
Well, it sounds very nice, a nice term to say a gift from Africa to the world. But how accurate is that description? Because I think we always need to look for a person or the people who were very instrumental in getting something done. And in this case, it appears a person who at that time was an assistant in the office of the head of UNESCO, Mr. Alain Dumont, was the person who was very committed to getting, first of all, the seminar to take place, and then after the conference, pushing things so that eventually it reached the UN discussion stage. And finally, they decided that 3rd May, the day that the seminar finished, would be the day that the world would observe International World Press Freedom Day. So I think that we also need to give credit to this person. So it's a double credit. So it's not Africa alone. In any case, the initiative did not really come from Africa. It came from UNESCO. And because it took place in an African country, we share the credit. But I think that it's not fair to leave out the person who was reportedly very instrumental in getting it to take place.
Thank you very much. It also helped, I think the Bintuk seminar acted as a catalyst in the process of encouraging press freedom, independence, and pluralism in Africa. What are your views on that?
I believe that it encouraged, well, it gave the press, people in the media, the feeling that there was recognition, there was somebody backing their efforts. And so people were encouraged to not only do their work, knowing that there was something, a backbone, but also encourage others to set up media houses. And I think this was not only in Africa, but also in other parts of the world. So I think that the Bintuk Declaration did influence the work in the field.
Right. It also helped to spread the message of press freedom to other regions of the world. Okay, we should take the other one again.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay.
Let's start again. Yeah, let's do the whole thing again.
Okay, that's fine. Take 2. Auntie Ajoa, what were the main reasons for you attending the seminar?
Is that the first question? Or
Yes, what were the main reasons for attending, for you attending?
Okay.
Yes.
When I received the invitation, the theme, Seminar on Promoting an Independent and Pluralistic African Press, sounded very exciting to me because especially at that time in Africa and in Ghana, the press operated in quite a hostile environment. And I thought that given the theme, something good would come out of it, as it was a UNESCO as well as a UN conference. So that is what generated my interest in attending the seminar.
Right. How did it happen that you attended the conference?
I should add that the period that I'm talking about is the period that is often referred to as the era of, when people didn't want to speak.
The culture of silence.
Culture, thank you. Culture of,
So
that
you
was.
can start that in that pressure.
I think that period is the period referred to as the culture of silence, because the country was being intimidated by the government of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, that's the PNDC, and therefore people who had something to say decided not to say it. And of course this reflected also in the press. At that time too, there was not the plural media that we now know. In fact, apart from the state-owned media, which had the four main papers, all the independent papers were mostly sports or lottery newspapers, and they were four pages, as I recall. So it was a period when we felt really oppressed. This is one more reason why this seminar was of interest to me.
Right. The Windhoek Declaration on Press Freedom was adopted at the seminar, which led to the World Press Freedom Day on May 3rd, and it is often referred to as a gift from Africa to the world delivered by UNESCO.
I need to also explain how I came to be invited to the seminar.
Right.
I co-founded a weekly newspaper together with a friend. The paper was The Monitor, and we came out 1st September 1989. And it was a hard time, hard going. So many impediments were put in our way, and eventually the paper collapsed. So I believe that probably they wanted somebody who had personal experience of trying to set up an independent paper which had failed. Maybe that was a reason for inviting me to the seminar. I also need to explain that part of the reason for the failure of the paper was due to an indirect attack on me personally and on the paper by the government. I was also a BBC correspondent at that time, and there was a coup attempt by a certain Major Courage Kwashiga, alleged coup attempt. So I reported this for the BBC. Actually, that day I was busy doing something else, so I had to rely on the Ghana News Agency story. So the BBC knew that I was filing a report that had been put out by the Ghana News Agency. But the presenter for the program, that is Focus on Africa, chose to give a cue in which he said several high-ranking army officers had been arrested. Actually, there were 5 of them. And the government, many people understand the word several to mean many. Whereas if you look in the dictionary, several does not mean many, it means a few. So the presenter used several thinking it would mean a few. But when the government heard several here, they thought we had reported that many senior army officers had been arrested. And this was a source of trouble for me. So the story came on a Friday. Do you believe that Saturday and Sunday, every news bulletin had us asking us to report at Burma Camp, Army headquarters, on the Monday. I tell you, every news bulletin, Saturday and Sunday, had this message that Ajoa1 and my colleague, who was also a BBC reporter, Ben Efson, should report 8 a.m. sharp on Monday at Army Headquarters, Burma Camp. So by the time we had finished that episode, because when we got there and explained, then they understood that it was not what they had thought, that we were misreporting or exaggerating. So nothing really serious took place. But because that announcement had been on air for 2 whole days, the typesetters, the printing houses, anybody who was helping us put out our paper decided that the government saw us as enemies. So the Monitor was considered an enemy newspaper by the government, so they wouldn't help us. So that was another reason why the paper could not survive. And I think that maybe whoever suggested they invite me probably had an idea that this is what had happened and wanted me probably to tell my story in Namibia. So I think this was one of the reasons why I was invited.
That's good. We'll go to the third one. The Windhoek Declaration on Press Freedom was adopted at the seminar, which led to World Press Freedom Day on May 3rd. And it is often referred to as a gift from Africa to the world delivered by UNESCO. What are your sentiments on this?
Well, a gift from Africa to the world has a nice ring to it. But is it accurate? I always like to go to the bottom of things to find out who initiated what, because people tend to be forgotten. After something has become successful, we no longer remember who it was initiated or helped bring it into being. And in this case, the idea for the seminar did not really come from Africa. It came from UNESCO. It was an UNESCO initiative. And my understanding is that at UNESCO, there was a particular staff member, Mr. Alain Modu, who was Assistant Director General in charge of, I think, free expression. And he is the one who is credited with really